Hi, I'm Kirby Allison, and in today's video, I'm very excited to welcome the top 3 shoes into my office of the 2025 World Championship of Shoemaking.
And we'll start with the third place. Ken Hishinuma from Japan. This is actually last year's world champion who, impressively enough, made another shoe for this year's competition. We also have Ken Kataoka from Japan. And this is certainly a spectacular, charismatic shoe. Lots of things to admire. Superb closing of the upper, nicely designed with beautiful metal parts. And World Champion of Shoemaking 2025 is Louis Lampertsdörfer from Germany. Congratulations!
Congratulations, man. Yeah.
This year marked the 6th edition of the competition, hosted as part of the London Super Trunk Show in early May. Organized by Shoegazing, the Shoe Snob, and me, Kirby Allison, with generous support from the Master Shoemakers Book Project and the late Edmund Shinneker's brother, Parker Shinneker. The World Championship of Shoemaking pits the top shoemakers from around the world against one another for the prestigious crown of World Champion. It allows them to showcase their technical ability and design eye in crafting shoes to an even higher standard than what you would find in client work. This year's contest attracted 25 entries from shoemakers all around the world. And during the London Super Trunk Show, over 13 attendees viewed the competition shoes, and later that evening were there as the top 10 contestants were announced live. Notably, this year the competition received international coverage, including a prominent feature on the BBC News morning show, World Business Report, sparking global admiration for these shoemaking masterpieces. And if you'd like to see the full lineup of shoes beyond the top 3, you can find them featured on shoegazing.se. In addition, a full video of the competition and the live announcement of the winners can be found on the Kirby Allison YouTube channel. Now, every year we change the design brief for the shoes that are to be featured. And this year, the competition shoe that was chosen was a cap-toe double monk strap. 2 straps from the same leather piece as the facing, 2 to 4 leather pieces, optional decorating stitching, no broguing or punched holes. All shoes had to be made from a dark brown calf leather, either box calf or aniline, with no patina. Leather outsole, hand welted with a 270-degree welt, waist included but not above the heel, dark brown sole and heel edges, natural colored bottom with optional decorative touches like wheel finishing or nails, finished interior with lining, and no branding. Shoe trees were allowed for practicality during judging, but were not judged. The judging criteria was divided into 3 categories: degree of difficulty with the max 10 points awarded per judge, complexity of construction, execution with the max of 10 points, precision, neatness, finishing, and finally design aesthetics with the max of 5 points per judge for balance, proportions, and overall look. A group of renowned judges from all over the world converged onto London to judge these 25 entrants. They included bespoke shoemakers, people in the bespoke shoemaking trade, and other prominent figures within the industry. Before I get into the top 3 shoes for this year's World Championship of Shoemaking, let me speak a little bit more broadly about the impact that this competition has had on the overall trade. Now, many people, whenever they look at these shoes, their first reaction is that these shoes have nothing to do with actual shoes that you see that someone could wear. And that is exactly the point. Just like a show car at a car show is not meant to be a practical production model, these shoes are the same. They're meant to be demonstrations of the highest articulation of shoemaking and really a demonstration of craft and skill. This competition actually has its roots dating all the way back to the World's Fairs competitions that were held around the late 19th century and early 20th century. This, of course, is before the era of internet and mass communication, and so the World's Fair was an opportunity for artisans from all around the world to gather together in one location and showcase their incredible craft. This, in many ways, is what the goal was for the Super Trunk Show, an opportunity for shoemakers from around the world to converge onto one location in London during one day to showcase their work and to meet people interested in their craft. The World Championship of Shoemaking was meant to give those in the industry, specifically the bespoke shoemakers, an opportunity to compete with one another and showcase their incredible technical abilities. What's interesting is how similar these shoes have begun to look to the competition shoes that one can find in the cabinets at John Lobb on St. James's Street. Of course, those shoes are famous for their incredible displays of technical ability that shoemakers possessed at the turn of the 20th century, and you see that skill and that showcase really being resurrected in this competition. If it weren't for a design brief or an opportunity to really showcase one's work to this high level, a shoemaker would never use these techniques in their practical work because they're simply not practical. The welt stitching, at this incredible high density with an incredibly fine thread would almost completely collapse if worn on the street. These incredible arches and skinny silhouettes, again, would never work for any real person's foot. But in a competition like the World Championship of Shoemaking, it's an opportunity for exaggeration and for beauty to really be stretched and showcased. And I think that's what the World Championship of Shoemaking has truly achieved. So these shoes themselves are absolutely stunning examples of technical ability, of design, of aesthetic, of proportion, and overall beauty. And if anything, only further push the entire industry forward. And now it's very exciting to see how much of an impact after its 6th year the World Championship of Shoemaking is having. So without further ado, let's actually get into the top 3 shoes. Now, to even finish a shoe to be entered into the World Championship of Shoemaking is an accomplishment. To make it into the top 10 is an even more incredible accomplishment. And to place within the top 3 is an extraordinary accomplishment. The amount of difficulty in differentiating those top 10 shoes cannot be overstated. As a judge, really any of those top 10 shoes had such an incredible demonstration of craft and technical ability that it was almost impossible to differentiate them. But there's always a few standouts, and you see those standouts within the top 3. So let's begin with 3rd place, Ken Hishinuma. His shoe right here, of course, is a beautiful standout and was praised for its exceptional clarity on execution and refined minimalism. Judges highlighted the super clean double monk strap, where every line of stitching is crisp and the straps are sleek yet perfectly balanced, drawing attention without overpowering. When you look at this shoe, there are several things that immediately stand out. First, or shall I say starting backwards, beginning with design, you can see that the overall balance of this shoe is beautifully silhouetted. It is elongated, right, just like what you would see in a fashion design sketch, really highlighting the beauty of its lines and its curves. It is sleek, but it is not too exaggerated, which you've seen in some of the entrants where they go too far. Ken really pushes it here all the way up to that balance, that perfect point where you have a real beauty in its design. When looking at this shoe, you're immediately drawn to its silhouette. You have, again, a little bit of exaggeration in the square toe cap, where here as you get towards the tip, it almost kind of stretches and elongates a little bit before it's pinched at the end. Again, it's a small, subtle, yet exceptionally beautiful detail. And again, all of these details that one sees wouldn't be something that one would take inspiration from in a normal shoe, and really speaks to the design eye and creativity of each individual shoemaker as they're making those decisions in the last making process. One of the other characteristics I like of this toe cap is its asymmetry. You see that here on the inside it is slightly more squared off than on the outside where it's slightly more rounded. Again, a small detail that whenever you look at the shoe from a distance, just strikes a beauty, balance, and really perfection of last making. I'd love to see someone like Ken, make a last for me, because it would be interesting to see how he could take inspiration in a shoe like this done and entered within the World Championship of Shoemaking to an actual customer shoe, because even in the last making process, a last maker is making decisions in how to balance fit and look to create something that not only is comfortable, but beautiful. We also see additional design details here in the stitching, right? Here across the top of the cap, you have 4 perfectly executed parallel lines of stitching that give a little bit more separation between the cap and the vamp. Here across the monk, you see another really interesting technique where the stitching is actually braided. So it gives additional visual detail and weight to that particular line. Now there's a lot of different ways that this could have been done, and it's the combination of these different techniques, a lot of them which can only be done by hand, that really give this shoe its overall aesthetical presence. Looking at the hardware here on the buckle, this is a beautiful rose gold finished buckle. It looks again like this was handmade because you see just an absolutely beautiful detail. And it's an example of how characteristics of the World Championship shoes could easily find their way into client work. As we go around again, we see beautiful design choices just in the shape of the rear heel. But we also see a very interesting characteristic here in terms of the heel itself, which has that horseshoe silhouette that Daniel Wiegand introduced whenever he won in the second year, but hasn't been hollowed out as a jockey heel. So again, it is a beautiful kind of detail here. And then instead of nailing, well, which you see incredibly fine nail along the edge of this, but you see this brass kind of horseshoe insert right here that in many ways is like a heel protector. So again, beautifully detailed and maybe not something that you would necessarily see in a customer shoe, but that's not the point of the World Championship of Shoemaking. The point of the World Championship of Shoemaking is exaggeration and really pushing the limits. The other thing is you see the way that this is built up, where the entire heel block itself comes to a nice little point at the top of the horseshoe. And then you look at the number of layers that was used to create this heel stack. It has to be no fewer than 15 small individual layers, kind of all layered up together. In some ways, it's almost like a potato au gratin, where again, you've got those thin layers kind of built together, and there's just something beautiful about that. Going around, of course, we see in just incredible beauty, you see a nice high arch, you see a beautiful narrow waist, right? I mean, it is absolutely exceptional. Again, even just the detail in how the heel is kind of shaped on the inside is extraordinary. Another interesting detail, and I think this is the first time that I'd seen this, is the way that the welt was done, in that there's almost 2 layers to the welt. I don't know if it's just sewn once or sewn twice, or if it's just different layers of fudging, but you know, there's 2 different kind of layers here. It's difficult to see on the video, but you can see it in the photographs of this particular shoe. An absolutely exceptional piece of work from Ken, and again, I mean, the talent and the time required to put something like this together can't be overstated. In this case, almost 100 hours could go into the creation of one shoe. Second place, we have another shoe that is completely different than the others. This is our runner-up, Ken Kataoka. Kataoka's shoes stood out for its masterful balance between technical complexity and aesthetic harmony. Observers noted his clean hand-welt stitching, carefully gradiated apron, and impeccable symmetry. The subtle interplay of lining tones inside and the precise welt-to-heel transition give an air of elegance and structural coherence. You can also see immediately that Ken was taking a little bit of design liberty here in pushing the limits. Whereas the first and third place shoes are really much more closely resembling an actual client shoe, you can see here that Ken took the opportunity to really exaggerate this, almost creating something that looks like a female double monk strap. Again, you have a beautifully executed shoe. All of the work here, absolutely extraordinary. From the incredibly fine stitching on the upper, to the beautiful metal work, to the way that this heel block was created and so neatly fits underneath the back of the shoe. Even the beautiful work here on the cap and the vamp, again, is exceptionally clean. This stitching here done by hand with what looks like could have been sewing thread, it's so fine. Was extraordinary. And again, these small little playful elements kind of working around the entire shoe, you know, really showcase how the stitching itself can be an element of design in the shoe and not something that is purely practical or pragmatic. Turning the shoe around to the bottom, Again, you see absolutely beautiful whole sole work where you have this flat bottom with absolutely no toe spring that immediately kind of jumps up into the arch that then follows into the heel, this jockey heel cut out here in the middle. Again, incredible amounts of layering work here, incredible finishing on the inking and the polishing of the heel. It's an absolutely incredible example of craftsmanship. One of the other examples of craft in here that I really enjoyed was the exceptionally thin welt and outsole. I mean, you can barely see it right here. Again, not practical for a client shoe, but here in the World Championship of Shoemaking is an opportunity to really showcase technical ability. And to execute something this clean, this finely, really speaks to an extraordinary ability. The outsole stitching here easily pushing 20 stitches per inch, absolutely extraordinary. And again, completely different than the third place shoe, but equally impressive in terms of its demonstration of technical and design creativity. Last but not least, our 2025 World Championship of Shoemaking, Louis Lampertsdörfer from Germany, with an absolutely extraordinary demonstration of technical and design ability. This is Louis's third year to compete in the World Championship of Shoemaking, and this year he returned to claim his victory as 2025 World Champion. Louis took the top honor with a double monk strap that seamlessly blends elevated technical difficulty with immaculate finishing and subtle originality. The craftsmanship shines in the precision of his 270-degree hand welt, the crisp polished cap toe, and a balanced, proportionate silhouette. The leather has a rich, warm glow, and the strap hardware is expertly placed. Not too bold, yet undeniably elegant. He earned this year's top prize of 3,000 pounds, and his work, of course, is touring the world along with the other top 3 finalists. Now, looking at this shoe right here, what I like about it is that compared to last year, where some of the top finishers were really veering outside of kind of the center line, this year we saw that pendulum swing back to something that was beautifully balanced and not too ostentatious. This is an absolutely beautifully executed shoe. Again, the silhouette of the shoe itself perfectly balanced, but appropriately exaggerated. That line being stretched, certain lines being pinched in order to create more exaggeration and beauty. It is absolutely extraordinary, and you look at this shoe and only wish you could wear it. It's the type of thing that I would imagine a Beau Brummel would have worn, or the Baron de Riedi, something absolutely and remarkably beautiful, but terribly pragmatic and uncomfortable. Looking at the upper making of the shoe, you can see that this really was perfectly and beautifully executed. It is clean, it is crisp, but whenever you bring this closer to the eye, you can see that it was done with incredible technical ability. Here, just on the cap itself, we have this beautiful kind of point, right? But instead of simple hand stitching, this is a braided stitch, right? Where the stitching is being done by hand, but then braided to give additional visual texture here. But it's not too strong and it's not overdone. It's done in a matching thread, so again, it's not jumping off of the shoe. But whenever you look at it and you look at it more closely, you see that this is no ordinary hand stitching. Now, that wasn't overdone. There's not braid stitching everywhere. Louis was very deliberate and measured in his use. Here across the double monk, we see that, again, this is a simple single stitching done by hand, beautifully executed, high stitch density. Along this design element right here, again, sweeping back from the vamp all the way back to the back of the shoe, was again chosen to be done with that braid stitch, giving it just that additional visual detail. But then on the top line of the shoe itself, we're back to that single stitch. We have a seamless back heel. So this is probably actually a hole cut, except for the cap, where it is a single spiral cut all the way around the shoe. Again, a showcase of pattern making excellence. As we go around the back of the shoe, we see again that element here from that kind of horseshoe heel, that ridge or point being carried all the way from the heel through the back of the shoe itself. A beautiful, nice, tight kind of waist and arch. The outsole stitching here on the welt incredibly high stitch density, probably pushing easily 30 stitches per inch, all done by hand and exceptionally fine. I mean, the amount of time it took to stitch this, I couldn't even imagine. Whenever we turn the shoe upside down, again, we see a beautifully restrained detail here, but absolutely flawlessly and beautifully executed. Right here, we have a beautifully hand-pounded toe plate, beautifully finished heel. We have the shank right here revealed, or with a leather cover. And then we have the jockey heel, again, hollowed out to create a lighter shoe, but then also comprised of 15 or 20 different layers to the heel stack. So this is an absolutely beautiful shoe and an extraordinary demonstration of shoemaking ability from all of the top 3 finalists. And here you can see these in their incredible glory on the Kirby Allison YouTube channel. Of course, if you want to read about the work that goes into each of these shoes with greater detail, go visit Jesper Ingveldson's blog, Shoegazing, and you'll find a much more detailed analysis of the technical characteristics of each of these shoes, along with more photographs. If you want to see what the entire lineup was for the World Championship of Shoemaking or prior year's World Championships of Shoemaking, take a look at our videos on the Kirby Allison YouTube channel. We also have the World Championship of Shoe Shining, the World Championship of Patina, and a general overview of the London Super Trunk Show. There we have it, our top 3 finalists for the 2025 World Championship of Shoemaking. Congratulations to our top 3 and to all of those who placed in this year's competition. Look forward to seeing you all back next year.